All right. As we take a look back on 2016,
Yes.
we are officially in 2017. We made it.
Yes.
Congrats to all of you out there. We did it. We survived another
Thank
year.
you for your help.
The Cubs, of course, came back, as we were talking about, from a 3-1 deficit to beat the Indians in the World Series, winning their first World Series title since 1908. Is this legit or not, Scott Rude? The Cubs were the biggest sports story of 2016. Now, there are a lot of stories to choose from. But are you giving them the crown as the biggest sports story of 2016?
I am. I think that it's actually very simple. You narrow it down to two stories. It was LeBron James really just culminating this promise. 7 years in Cleveland after being raised in Akron. First pick overall to the Cavs in 2003. Goes to Miami. Relates it to college for 4 years. Gets 2 rings, 4 appearances in the finals. And from there, he comes back. And, he was the guy. They may have had a big three, but outside of James Jones, they didn't really have any championship pedigree. So he really put his city on his back. And since then, it's been contagious. The Indians were outs away from winning the World Series, but it was down to those two. LeBron won Sportsman of the Year with our friends at Sports Illustrated. I think the whole Cubs, Theo Epstein, Joe Madden, their 25-man roster, the franchise itself, the fan base, they should have won it. If the Indians had won the World Series, I think it should have been the city of Cleveland in itself. So, yeah, I think it was the biggest story, which headlined a greater theme of finally getting over the hump with the Cavs and with the Cubs.
Do you say the Cubs because there is so much history when you look at the grandma that they kept showing on the broadcast?
Sure. Yeah, sat behind the dugout.
Right, that people have been waiting so long for this. And not that they haven't been in Cleveland, because they have been, but in Chicago, for the Cubs specifically, they've been waiting for 108 years.
If you want to quantify it, it was almost to the month, twice as long of a drought for the Cubs as it was for the city of Cleveland.
Yeah.
To put it in perspective. It was the longest drought that American major sports has ever experienced. And it's the third biggest market. Second biggest market for much of this 108-year stretch, since obviously the overpopulation of urban Los Angeles. But Chicago has, and you can also say, until the Bears really emerged and the popularity of the NFL emerged in the 70s or 80s, it was always remained the biggest team in Chicago as well. I think you factor in all those pieces and the fact that you kind of got like the curse breaker and Theo Epstein coming here 4 years ago. It was all these things kind of had to circuit together, and they still had to scratch and claw to the very end to barely edge out the